Welcome back to Timeout with J and G. I am Jay. That is G over there.
Yo, what's going on, everybody?
And today we are back again. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. It's Timeout with J and G. Any type of updates with the podcast or just sports talk will be on there. I do run that page. So today we have a bit of a special episode. This is going to be an episode led by G over there. He had a lot of good topics we talked about beforehand, and I thought it'd just be better, his ideas, let him fully explain them, So, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get right into the video. Go ahead, Levi.
Alrighty, so the first thing I want to talk about is the surprise firing of Griffin.
Yeah,
I think it's Griffin, right?
Adrian Griffin, yep.
Yep. Surprise firing. I didn't think he was doing too bad in his first year as a coach.
So what I've been seeing a lot of is I think there's a couple different things. There's been a couple quotes that now have came out and some reports that apparently Giannis has not been a fan of him. Like Giannis is not, they haven't gelled. And which is weird because apparently I thought Adrian Griffin was one of the reasons that Giannis signed the extension this offseason, but apparently it's just not working the way Giannis thought it would. And when there's a friction between your best player and the head coach, or 99% of the time, they're going to pick your star player.
Oh yeah, that's understandable, but still, I mean, the Bucks are 30-13 right now, second in the East. Their point differential is +4. They're on a 2-game win streak. They're not doing bad at all. Even if there was a little bit of friction, I'm just still questioning the firing and the hiring of Doc Rivers.
Yeah, no, I get you. Like I said, from the Bucks games I've been watching, he hasn't been. It's kind of hard to he hasn't been great. The defense has been bad. The rotations have been strange. I don't know how many Bucks games you're tuning into, but it's like the rotations are constantly being adjusted. Kind of like how the Lakers are with Darvin Ham. I think they're having a hard time getting a rhythm because every other game, people's minutes are getting flipped on their heads, and I think they're just having a hard time finding their role, and which is weird because I don't know if you remember this, but earlier in the season, Damian Lillard came to Adrian Griffin and said, "Hey, I don't like the minutes I'm getting. I want to play the whole first quarter, then take off some rest." And Adrian Griffin's like, "All right, yeah, sure thing." He's getting a lot of input from his players, and he's doing it, but it's he is the head coach at the end of the day, and he should know these things before the players have to come to him.
Oh, and if they are coming to him and asking, "Hey, can I get more minutes or something?" It should be justified whether they get it or not, whether that's put out to the media or just settled in-house, which I feel like it should just be settled in-house no matter what.
Yeah.
And he's also got to know to put his foot down.
Yep.
He's got to be able to say, hey, no, this person's playing or just selling. No. Show me a little bit more with the time you get, and then I'll think about giving you a little more minutes. Because it's always this factor to where if you give one guy more minutes, you have to take away from another guy, and it's just a whole give and take thing.
Which is true, but I think with somebody like Damian Lillard, it's a little bit of a different story. I don't know what else he has to prove to get more minutes, but with 99% of other players, you're right. It's you can't just go in there and ask. You need to be showing what you can do in those minutes.
But it also comes into the point to where I know it sucks, but it also comes into this money perspective, because if you have two similar players, you're paying one guy $8 million and one guy $2 million, you're going to play the $8 million guy because you're paying him more.
Unfortunately, just how it works. Well, Speaking of pay, I saw the report today that they hired Doc Rivers, they signed him, right? So now on the Bucks payroll, they are paying Doc Rivers, still Adrian Griffin, and they're still paying Mike Budenholzer from last year. So they're now paying 3 head coaches to just have one.
I mean that's just insane. That's another reason why I don't understand the firing of Griffin.
It's the timing for me. Maybe I could maybe the writing was on the wall that it just wasn't working, but right before the All-Star it's just weird timing.
And also it's just Doc Rivers. I mean, he's a good coach, don't get me wrong, but his track record since the championship with the Celtics, let's be honest, has not been too good.
No, the Bucks are a contending team. They're out here to win the finals, right? That's what this roster was built on. You have one of, if not the best player in the league in Giannis, and one of the best point guards in the league in Dame, and you have a competent team built around them. So you're looking for that coach that's going to get you over the hump. And that's one of the reasons they fired Mike Budenholzer, because they thought outside of that one championship, he was getting out coached. So they're like, all right, we'll bring in an in-house hire like Adrian Griffin, a first-year head coach, which that was weird to me too, because it's like, how are you expecting a rookie head coach to come in and take you over the top, right? And especially when you move on from that because it didn't work, and you bring in one of the most infamous playoff choking coaches of all time. And that's like, I know that sounds disrespectful. I'm not trying to disrespect Doc Rivers. He's a fantastic coach. But like you said, we've seen in the past, outside of that 08 championship run with the Celtics, his teams have continuously let down in the playoffs between the Lob City Clippers team with Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and the 76ers team, James Harden, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. Like, I don't see why this roster would be any different than anything he's coached before.
And it's just, I don't know. Then again, I don't think you can really look at the landscape of coaches, to my knowledge, and pick someone better than Doc.
That's
but
true.
Also it's also hard to get someone with a better playoff resume, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because not many free agent coaches out there have a championship, have a multiple conference titles.
You're right. No, and I think that's and that's why it goes back to like the timing of it was so weird, because if the coach out there is competent and like good, he most likely has a job right now. He's not just sitting there. And I think you look at Doc Rivers was like, well, this is the best available, but that's why like waiting till the end of the season probably would have been the better option, because now you have more. I don't know what coaches' contracts are up and who's going to be available, but you're going to have way more options, and you're going to have more time to figure it out in the offseason. Now it's like, man, we're trying to get our coach as quick as we can. In the offseason, you have a couple months where you can go through and you can thoroughly interview these people and you can find people.
Oh, yeah, and the other thing that I just thought of is when you go down to the X's and O's, Griffin and Doc are going to have different sets of plays.
Yeah.
They're going to have different minute rotations. So the rotations we've been seeing from Griffin, even though they may have been weird, Doc might even be weird, or he might not play certain people. You know what I mean? It just might mess it up more than fixing it.
And I did see that they were shopping trades for Pat Connaughton and Cam Payne, just to kind of fill out their bench depth a little bit, which I don't really know what you're going to get for those two. But I think this is a team that needs to buy at least a little bit at the trade deadline, because I think we talked about it last episode. Their bench is kind of worrisome. Like that front five is pretty good. And you have like Bobby Portis coming off your bench. But I don't know. Outside of that, they need a better bench.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pulling it up right now. Yeah, their bench right now is their backup point guard is Cam Payne. Now this is on the ESPN depth chart.
Yeah.
So their backup point guard is Cam Payne. Pat Connaughton is at the 2. Andre Jackson Jr. at the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Crowder at the 4, and Bobby Portis at the 5.
Yeah, and shout out my YouTube channel, Cloud2K. I just did a rebuild on the Bucks. I took the head coaching job, but like, sorry, I had to do that little. But yeah, this team, and that's one of the things I did in the videos. Like, this team needs perimeter defense and scoring off the bench. And and maybe I shouldn't say this without knowing for sure, but a certain wing defender, one of the best defenders in the league in Chicago right now, is maybe being offered up in Alex Caruso. The Bulls said they wanted 1 or 2 first-round picks. If you're able to swing it, the Bulls are probably selling at this deadline. If you're Milwaukee, are you trying to go get Alex Caruso? Because I think him starting next to Dame would do wonders for your defense compared to Malik Beasley.
Oh, yeah, and even then, if you put, let's just say you keep Malik Beasley, put him on the bench, that gives you another
shooting. Yeah,
gives you shooting and a good defender, decent defender on your bench coming out. Like, nothing against Dame, but I feel like if I'm going against a really good point guard or a really good guard in general, I'm gonna want Alex Caruso on him over Dame.
Well, yeah. Dame's never been a great defender, but I think especially now when like the rest of the team isn't good, you're really seeing his defensive deficiencies. And kind of like I said in my video, like you don't really have anybody on the perimeter that can guard outside of like kind of Jay Crowder on the bench. I'm like, cool. Middleton, he's been playing better this year. And Giannis is one of the best help defenders in the league. But it's kind of going back to like, if he has nobody helping him on a perimeter, he's not going to be as effective. Kind of like the Rudy Gobert thing, is that like he's a fantastic rim protector, but if his guards aren't guarding anybody, there's not much he can do. So it's like when it comes to Giannis, if he has no help defense around him, his defense is going to get overshadowed. And I think somebody like Alex Caruso would just be fantastic to obviously adding just Alex Caruso isn't going to solve your defensive problems, but it's going to be a hell of a lot better than Malik Beasley out there.
Oh, yeah, and the other thing is if Jay Crowder was like 2 to 4 years younger, this would be a different story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like 2 to 4 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago, he was a better player. He was younger, and he was faster and a better defender. Now he's just getting to that PJ Tucker thing to where you're starting to get a little too old to move like he did, defend like he did, and it's just starting to decline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, the firing itself wasn't over surprising, but it's the fact that they fired him mid-season just kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, at the end of the season, understandable. Just let it ride out the rest of the season, see what happens.
You're breaking up continuity.
Yes,
and I think that's one of the most important things that these like championship level teams have, is that like you like. Yeah, continuity. Things are moving, things are clicking. But when like you said, you're changing the scheme up probably halfway through the year. Luckily, you kind of have the All-Star break, so have a few days off. But still, it's not going to be nearly as smooth right out the gate. So they might take a bit of a hit there.
And it also comes with the assistant coaches too, because the head coach and the assistant coaches and all the coaches below that, they've gotten into a groove together. They know each other and everything. Now you're adding in someone new. You're adding in Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
Doc Rivers might just say, hey, I want this guy, this guy, this guy.
I think there's been reports that I think there's going to be reports that Dave Yeager is going to come with him, and I'm pretty sure Yeager was with him in Philly. It was either Philly or the Clippers. So it looks like he's going to bring in a familiar assistant coach. So we'll see how that works.
Alrighty, so on to our next topic of the night. The scoring surge that happened. Embiid got 70, and they got the win. That is just insane.
Yeah, that was insane. Yeah, sorry, I was pulling up. Go ahead and list out the rest of them. Let me pull something up real quick.
Another scoring surge was Karl-Anthony Towns had 62. The one thing that did surprise me about that game is the coach pulling out Cat in the fourth quarter. I have seen reports that he was taking quote-unquote dumb shots to chase 70, and that's why the coach pulled him out.
Yeah, so I was watching this game, especially like I was watching the Embiid game, the Sixers game. I think we have to pull up the quote where before the game, Greg Popovich went on and said that for their defensive scheme against the 76ers was that they're talking about Joel Embiid, said in quotes, "We are going to hammer his ass." Embiid then proceeded to drop 70 points on him. So they didn't quite do that. But yeah, no, I was mainly watching that game for the longest time. And it was like, of course it's Embiid. He's going to get some favorable whistles. But he went like what, 21 for 23 from the free throw line or like something like insane. But he was just doing it everywhere. Like he was pulling up in the mid-range, in the paint, obviously like going at Wembanyama. Like this might be a little controversial because I know he as himself is a very controversial player. He's one of those players you either love or you hate, I feel like. But Embiid might be one of the top 10 scorers I've ever watched. And when I say I've ever watched, not in history, but like that I've seen, right? With just the way being a 7-footer and being able to kind of play like a guard in the perimeter, shake a bit. I've seen dudes shake and bake a little bit, which is insane when he's 7 foot. The dribble pull-ups, the post game, the mid-range, obviously under the basket, he can shoot the three. Like it was so easy for him. And that's the difference between, I think, his game versus Cat's game is that really Embiid, and it sounds kind of crazy when you have 70 points, but he was getting 70 points through the flow of the offense. Like, he was just getting the open shots, and he was taking the shots he felt like he could hit. He wasn't just putting them up there for the points.
Oh yeah, that's the one thing that gets some people in trouble. Like if Cat doesn't start throwing shots up to chase 70 or chase whatever he was going for, if he was going for it, obviously it's all.
Well, actually, I don't want to
Up
cut
it.
you off there, but a thing came out. I think it was today or was it yesterday that at halftime the Timberwolves found out that Embiid had 58 I think at that point in the third quarter, and so the Timberwolves decided they were going to try to feed Cat the ball so he could top Embiid. So they knew what Embiid was doing, and they were actively trying to get Cat over him.
And see that right there, it messes up the flow of the offense. Like
100%.
it's great that he scored 62, and I understand wanting to get that 70 or get 72, whatever the case may be. But also at the end of the day, you got to win the game.
Yeah, especially because the Charlotte Hornets, man. The Charlotte Hornets, I think, well, now that they won, they were 9-31 going into the game, so you gave them their 10th win. You, as the one seed in the West, you cannot blow a game to a bottom 10 team in the league.
And also off of that, we are introducing a new segment called Broken Glass, Broken Play of the Week. Now, the broken play of the week can be a bad shot, can be a guy going 3 for 15. It could be a no call, or it could be a phantom foul. This week, it's going to be the Leaky Black no call.
And Terry Rozier. Don't forget that.
And Terry Rozier. Those two no calls cost the Timberwolves a game, along with them forcing it Cat the ball to try and get 70.
Yeah, so we were talking while I was watching the game, and they gave the ball to Cat, right? Well, okay, let me take a step back here. First of all, this game should not have came down to these missed foul calls. In technicality, yes, they did cost the Timberwolves a game, but in reality, it should have never came down to that. The Timberwolves should have put this game away 10 minutes ago. I think we both know that. It's kind of insane that they blew this, but they give the ball to Cat. He comes down the right side of the paint, and as he's coming down into the paint, Terry Rozier wraps his arm around him. There's no call. Cat proceeds to go up, and Leaky Black chops his forearm. I mean, doesn't touch the ball at all. Chops his forearm, and there's no foul call. So that's 2 right there. And in the NBA's last 2-minute report that came out, they said, yes, that was a foul on Terry Rozier, and that was a foul on Leaky Black. So he should have got the free throws, but it tied the game. I don't know. It was an egregiously blown call, considering the ref was looking right at it and the situation of the game. It was rough.
Yes, it was. I don't know. It's just Cat's just a very good player to get that, but also let's Anthony Edwards, not the best game.
No.
Now he had 11 assists,
Yes.
and that was probably it was feeding Cat. Let's be honest,
100.
He's a great. Anthony Edwards is a great player, but you can't also expect to win when he shoots inefficiently. It's not going to work.
And he was taking some, especially that fourth quarter, because in the fourth quarter, Cat went 2 for 10. He disappeared the fourth quarter, including he tried taking the game-winning 3 and he airballed it. But Anthony Edwards, man, some of the shots he was taking, I was just he had one where he got backed into the corner, the left corner, so he took a step back and tested 3 and damn near airballed it. And I almost audibly gasped because I'm like, how you're trying to win this game? How is that the shot you're taking?
I don't know. I'm looking at the box score. Now, obviously, the box score does not tell you everything about the game, but he had 11 assists, 5 rebounds. He had only 9 points. He went 3 for 11 from the field and 1 for 5 from 3.
Yep. It was a tough watch. And, this is something I think I mentioned last podcast that, and it came true. This Timberwolves offense can just get abysmally stale. they just forgot how to play basketball almost. Like their offense just couldn't do anything. They couldn't find open shots. They weren't passing the ball very well either. It became a lot of tunnel vision. And I think that's something Ant is still. I mean, he's like what in his third is his third or fourth season, and he's a super. He's hitting that line to stardom, right? And I think he's in the mindset of, well, I'm the best player on this team. I need to be getting the shots in. Where he had 11 assists for sure, but in the last 5 minutes of that game, he was in tunnel vision. He was not looking at nobody, and I think that's another part of the problem is that like you get down to the end of the game, it's kind of like the Celtics. It's like, all right, we're going to give the ball to our best player, and if he can't make the shot, what are we going to do?
I totally agree with you, and that's one of the things that I fault the Celtics for is that. But it's also just you got to run an offense. You can't just go down there and expect 100% of the time we're gonna give it to Ant, we're gonna give it to Tatum, we're gonna give it to Curry, we're gonna give it to Durant, and we're just gonna say here, go get us a bucket, and he's gonna get that bucket 100% of the time. Now, is he favorably gonna get the bucket? Probably, but it's also that minute, small chance that's like, hey, let's try and run something. You know what I mean? Because it just mind boggles me sometimes that the fact that some of these games come down to a one-on-one ISO instead of running a play and try and get something in the offense moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it basically sometimes it comes down to is my best player better than your best player?
Yes.
But like I said, I don't want to rally on Cat too much. It was for 3 quarters. It was a fantastic game. Gonna get like going to back to Embiid. It was it was a fantastic game to watch. He, like I said, he's one of the best scorers I have seen with my eyes. But if we're talking about best scores I've ever seen, I don't think there's anybody else on the list at number one besides Kevin Durant. And he had himself a pretty good game too. 43 points and the game winner against Chicago. So I don't know if you caught this, but it was actually he went up, he lifted off. He was taking his shot, got contested, so he double clutched it in midair and then put it back up for the game winner. It was crazy.
Damn.
It was like I've never seen somebody like I said, mid jump shot. He was at the peak of his jump shot, brought it halfway down and then back up to get rid of the contest. It was like everything was moving in slow motion for him. And then it gets after the game, and they're Kevin Durant's at the podium and they're interviewing him, and I guess his eyes. He's like, man, I dropped 43 game winner. Like, look at me go. And the reporter goes, so did you hear Embiid had 70? And he goes, 70? And he just kind of sat back, like, man, even with the game like that, he still wasn't the best player of the night, which is kind of funny.
It very much is. Also on the Embiid thing, what did he have? He had 70 and I think 18 rebounds.
Yeah, dude, it was insane.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's only the third player in NBA history to have a 70-point, at least 15 plus rebound game.
That would track. I'm pretty sure he set the record for most points in 76ers history. I'm pretty sure of that because when Wilt dropped 100, they were the Philadelphia Warriors who became the Golden State. So it doesn't track for some reason. Wilt's 100-point record went to the Warriors instead of with the 76ers because the name. So I'm pretty sure he had the franchise record as well in points.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like we're witnessing possibly, arguably gonna be one of the best scorers in the NBA.
Listen, I'm gonna put this out here too. I think right now in the league we have two of the best centers of all time playing. Now I'm not saying number one and number two by any means, but I think if you're looking at the top 5, top 10 centers of all time, I think we have two of them in the league right now.
Oh yeah, and they still have a good 5 to 10 years.
I'd say I think. Let me pull up their ages for sure, but I'm pretty sure they're both in their later 20s. Joel Embiid is, give me 1 second here, 29. So a few more years left for him. And Jokic is 28. Yeah, actually, he turns 29 in about a month.
So let's be realistic here. Let's just say 4 to 7 years.
At this peak level, yeah.
Yeah. more towards favor, maybe 4 to 5, but there's a chance that it could go longer, and it's just going to increase their resume even more.
I think Jokic is going to age really well with his style of basketball. Embiid could do the same thing. I'm not going to say that, but like I feel like Embiid's more physical. He's more down there, banging with other people. His body might kind of start, right? But Jokic is he's such a good player outside of scoring that he could be average. He could be like averaging 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 14 assists because he's just not shooting the ball anymore. Like he's always going to have as long as he has that passing vision and passing IQ, he's going to be a good center.
And the one thing that I do got to give Embiid is I believe he's passing the ball even more this season than he was in prior seasons. I think his assist numbers are actually up, but I'm not 100% sure.
He's at like 6 assists now this year.
Which, I mean, for Embiid, let's be honest, that's insane because his averages have been going up on all levels. I'm pretty sure.
He's, and again, I'm trying my best to like push back recency bias because obviously, like after a 70-point game, you can be like, oh my god, MVP, boom. But I do think it's between him and Jokic again for MVP. Giannis obviously is always going to have his case as well. But that's part of why it goes back with like some of the best centers of all time. Like these guys are just perennially just up there. Like they are leading the MVP race every year. You never know. Embiid could have a second one this year.
I mean, I love Jokic, and I don't like Embiid mainly because he does play on the 76ers. I am a Boston fan. But this year he's averaging 36 points, 11.5 rebounds, practically 6 assists with 2 blocks and over a steal on 54 from the field, 88 from the free throw line, and 36 from the 3.
Yeah. I mean, they're what, the 3 seed?
Yeah, they're behind the Bucks and the Celtics.
And that's with really, I mean, this is one. Okay, how do I want to put this? Since Embiid's hit superstardom in the past few years, this is probably the worst roster he's had. Because in years past, he had a all-defensive, about all-NBA talent and Ben Simmons. Then he had James Harden, which obviously we know who James Harden is. And now, I mean, his second best player is Tyrese Maxey, who I had on my All-Star ballot this year, but just isn't at the same level as Harden and Simmons were when he was in his prime. And like I said, the fact that like he's been able to shoulder this team that otherwise, if they don't have Embiid, which is this is a weird hypothetical, but like this team doesn't have Embiid, they're probably about the worst team in the league, if not one of the bottom 5 worst teams in the league. So the fact that he's putting this on his shoulders and just willing them to do the 3 seed is just, I think it's part of his MVP case too.
Yeah, right now I have the 76er stats up. Embiid is rocking with, like I said, 36, 11.5, 6. Maxey's getting about 26 and 7 assists with 1 steal. Then the next score down is Tobias Harris with practically 18.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just insane. And then you go like Kelly Oubre and then DeAnthony Melton. If you compare the 76ers and the Nuggets, the 76ers are worse.
Yeah.
But Embiid is playing at an all-time high, right?
He is. I'd argue this is probably his best season.
Definitely. And we have one more score to
just Luka had a kind of inefficient triple-double. I just wanted to give him flowers. He might be in MVP race, kind of probably the 4 or 5 spot. But I just want to shout out Luka. Another good game for him.
Yeah, Luka is just Luka's Luka. It's going to be insane what he can do. It's just efficiency and getting help outside of Kyrie.
Yes.
Because
they need to be buyers, 100%.
Oh, yeah. Tim Hardaway Jr., he had 20 against the Celtics. They still lost by 9. I mean, it's just they got to get another good piece out there.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm looking at when they play Boston, Luka had 33 points on 12 for 30 shooting, but he had 18 rebounds and 13 assists. It's like I think part of it's because they're a lack of like Derek Lively's been pretty good this year, but they don't have a lot of big bodies on the team. They don't have a lot of like big men at least good big men. So he's maybe his rebound numbers are kind of inflated from that point of view, but it's I mean he's been averaging 8 to 9 rebounds his entire career, but his best center's been what, JaVale McGee, Dwight Powell. So
Yeah, and Dirk Lively, also a rookie.
oh, Kristaps. I'm sorry, I forgot about Kristaps.
Kristaps. Yeah, Kristaps did play on the Mavs, but yeah, they have and Lively only played 25 minutes because
Yeah,
I know they like putting Maxi Kleba at the center. I know they do that a
which
lot
I don't
for a
know
good
why,
bit.
but
I don't know why either. I'd rather have Derek Lively down there because he is in his rookie year, and I'll admit it. I was blinded by his stats. I'll admit that, but he was on a really good Duke team,
Mhm.
and he has just come on, and he's just been phenomenal for the Mavs. Now, do I feel like he should get a couple more touches in the paint? Maybe, but you're also playing with Luka. Let's be honest.
Right.
Luka's arguably one of the best players in the league right now.
Oh, kind of breaking news. Not really. Well, more of a breaking rumor, I should say. There's a report here from I'm seeing it on NBA Central. I'm not sure where this actual person is, but the report is that the Phoenix Suns are prepared to give up multiple assets for Miles Bridges.
Ooh,
But problem is, what do the Suns have at all?
fair. I mean,
I'm
do they
looking. I'm
even
trying to read through this, see if I can see anything here.
have a lot of picks?
No, they sent a lot of them over to Brooklyn.
That's right
For
for Kevin Durant. I mean, it's pretty much just going to be a bunch of role players. I just don't see them trading away because they're not going to trade away Bradley Beal. They're not going to trade Devin Booker. They're not going to trade KD. And I doubt they trade Nurkic.
No, they just I don't. I think honestly, if I'm the Suns, I think everybody outside of Beal, outside of Booker, KD, and Bradley Beal, everybody should be on the block. I should be looking to just try something new because it's not working. They're under 500.
Yeah,
Right.
and the other thing that I find funny is everybody hyped up this team like it was going to be one of the best teams in the NBA. Now they're pretty good, but it's also just that lack of depth.
They're really like they're one of those other teams too. Where like outside of the top three, they're not good at all, and they've been having a hard time getting all three of those guys to play together with injuries.
Yeah, I mean, once you get past them three, obviously you have Nurkic, who who isn't the center he used to be in Portland, but he's still a good center.
He's serviceable.
Yeah. And then at your three, you have Grayson Allen. I mean, it's Grayson Allen. I don't even think he should be in the league with some of the stuff that he has done. And then you have Eric Gordon, Josh Okogie, Bol, who is out right now, Drew Eubanks as your backup center.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that is just it's not there. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's they're not a good team, and we knew that going into the season that they weren't going to be able to afford really anything, right? And they were pretty active on the mid level exceptions, getting people in for minimums, where it's like on paper you're like, you know what, they brought in enough talent that with those top three, they're going to be pretty good. But then these role players are just not playing good, and like I said, on top of that, really Bradley Beal hasn't been playing very good, and they just haven't been able to get all three of them on the court at the same time.
Yeah. And right now I'm looking at the standings. The Suns are the 6th seed, and they're only half a game above the Kings and a game above the Mavs.
Yeah.
So one wrong thing, or they lose one or two games, and the Mavs win one and the Kings win one, they're down to the 8th seed fighting in the play-in, and they're above the Lakers. By then, it would be like 2 games.
Yeah.
Or 3 games. It's just weird. It's very weird for the Suns right now because you don't have your bona fide bench, in my opinion, and you're just banking on your star power to just push you through the entire way when your stars are either not playing together or aren't playing together because Beal's still out, and you're basically putting all the burden on KD and Booker to just shoot your way to the playoffs and then hopefully to a championship.
Yep.
Alrighty. Next thing on the agenda, the Kyle Lowry for Terry Rozier trade.
Do you have the trade details pulled up, or you want me to find it?
I can pull it up. I probably can find it really quick. But if you can find it faster, then we can go with that.
Yeah, I get. Here's Terry Rozier.
I just pulled it up on ESPN.
Okay.
The Miami Heat acquired guard Terry Rozier from the Charlotte Hornets for a 2027 first round pick and Kyle Lowry.
A to F. What are you ranking it? For A to F for the Heat.
For the Heat, I think it's a B plus because you're banking on Terry Rozier scoring and being a playmaker, which he can, but you're also giving up, obviously, in order Kyle Lowry, but you're giving up that first round pick. Now, I don't know if it's protected or anything like that, but if it's not protected, and let's just say this whole thing falls apart, and let's just say Jimmy either retires or goes to another team, Bam goes to another team, you're sitting there with a arguably top 10 pick, but obviously that's just hearsay. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a couple years down the line. You never know. Yeah, I would probably to B range myself B plus as well. They're getting the better player to trade, right? Kyle Lowry just hasn't been very good, and he's making $30 million. You're getting the better player out of the deal, which I think almost always gives you the win, right? But I look at Terry Rozier, and I'm like, okay, do you start him, right? So then you'll have, let's say, a lineup of, I don't know, Tyler Hero, or we'll run Terry Rozier, Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin, Jimmy, and Bam. All right. So now what is your backcourt defending? Because it's not any basketball players, that's for sure. Right? So then it's like, okay, well, maybe we move Terry Rozier to the bench and we need scoring off the bench. So we put Terry Rozier on the bench and we run a lineup of Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, Jimmy, and Bam. Okay. So what is your backcourt still guarding? Nothing at all. But then again, it's the Heat, right? So the Heat are always going to just find players that play defense. I mean, Caleb Martin, Hayward Highsmith, like they're going to find players, right? You're making your backcourt, which Kyle Lowry wasn't being very good either. So like I said, you're getting a better player. I look at Tyler Hero and I look at Terry Rozier, and I think you're looking at a very similar mold of a player. I think Tyler Hero is better, but I think you're looking at a very similar player, which is what confused me about the trade. It's like, why would I get almost a duplicate of what I already have?
Yeah, and I mean, off the bench, you say Duncan Robinson coming in. Apparently, according to ESPN, the depth chart, Josh Richardson is their backup point guard.
Sure. Okay.
I mean,
I guess he's okay. He's getting minutes. Yeah.
I mean, it's just very interesting. Their starting backcourt and their backup backcourt.
I think they're gonna be a better team with Terry Rozier over Kyle Lowry. I don't think you really. This doesn't move the needle for me at all. I mean, obviously it's the Miami Heat, so they can go in as the 8 seed and make a finals run. It's something they do. They're always the underdog, and they always you're usually the underdog, and they usually push through the underdog, right? But I just feel like while you got better, you didn't get better enough for me to be like, okay, I'm putting you in the contender category now.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna be, instead of the play-in, I feel like they might snag, like the 5. You know what I mean?
I don't even think that, but they could.
The 6. You know what I mean? And also, it's Jimmy Butler. Sometimes Jimmy just doesn't show up till like the last 20 games of the season.
That's fair.
It's like he just goes through the motions the entire year. Then 20 games left. He goes, all right, let's get serious. And then next thing you know, they're upsetting the 1 seed. Which he's got
that LeBron switch where in the playoff he just flips that switch.
Yeah, it's insane. Because
it's not as good, obviously.
Yeah. it's just I don't know. It's just very interesting, especially for the defensive side. But like you said, it's the Heat. They're always gonna find someone they're gonna find someone to come out and play defense at a good to high level. It's just what they do.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, cool. There we go. Sorry, I just wanted to say we got busted up there. I was okay. So we'll look back on it at the Hornets side then. What do you give it A to F for the Hornets? Who get a first round pick in 2027 in Kyle Lowry?
I feel like it's not as high, so I'm saying like between B to C plus, because you are getting a first round draft pick, and no matter where that is, you're possibly going to get a shot at a good player, a decent player. And now you're getting in Kyle Lowry, who was on the last year of his deal.
I'll double check that, but go ahead.
If he's on the last year of the deal, because I know there have been talks about buyouts, so now you bring his contract in, you buy him out, and then now instead of having Rozier on the books for the next how many years his contract is?
Yeah, it's last year of his contract.
Yeah, so instead of having Rozier for how many years, you're getting money next season or this off season to then try and get more talent in.
Also, the reports were that as of right now, the Hornets aren't planning on buying him out. They want to see if they can flip him before the trade deadline. I don't know what team is taking on Kyle Lowry $30 million at all, really. So I don't know if they might end up having to buy him out because I don't know who's going to want Kyle Lowry. But going to Terry Rozier, he's got this year, and then he's got 2 more seasons after this on his contract.
Do you know the financial of that?
So this year is 23. Next year it's 24, and the year after that it's 26. And it says, I guess, partial guaranteed. And what's saying 20? Oh, okay. So out of 26 million, 24 is guaranteed, and fully guaranteed if team plays in the second round, and Rozier plays 70 games. So so if Terry Rozier plays in at least 70 games, either this season or the next 2 seasons, and they make it to the second round, then he gets the extra $2 million for 26.
Gotcha. And now, if you're the Hornets, you're not paying a guy for the next 2 seasons. That's going to total to over 50 million.
It's gonna be you're gonna open up a lot of cap space.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I
mean, that's about the only thing other than the pick. You're just gaining money to try and get some more talent in to put around LaMelo.
So I'm gonna give it probably a C minus, right? So the way I look at it is, you got this 2027 first round pick, which again, that's 3-4 years down the line. So who knows what's going on with this Heat with Jimmy Butler, Bam, Tyler Hero. It might be a top 10 pick. So you're banking on a player in middle school right now in 8th grade, maybe 9th grade. Well, at that point in time, you now have paid LaMelo Ball a lot of money. You probably paying Mark Williams, and then you're looking at Kyle Lowry. It's like, okay, so we're either going to trade him, which you're probably not going to because nobody's going to want him. You buy him out, or you just kind of let him ride. If you feel like you can't, like you don't want, like you're probably just going to buy him out at the end of the day. And it's like, okay, now we have this money going into free agency. What free agent is coming to Charlotte?
I mean, that's fair. That is fair. But the other thing it does do is it opens up more minutes and more opportunity for their pick last year, Brandon Miller. It opens him an opportunity to get more minutes and more time with the ball because now you don't have Rozier, who we can all agree is a ball-dominant guard.
Yeah. And speaking of, shout out Brandon Miller. The past 3 games, he's been averaging like 24 points. He's been really stepping up. He hit that shot against the Timberwolves where I think I sent you a message. So I was like, holy shit, dude. This dude was running across. He got to the free throw line and just took a contested ass fadeaway and just netted nothing but net. And at that point, I'm like, oh, this game's over. Like if he's making shots like that, if this team's making them shots. He's been playing great recently, and I think it's good because a lot of people gave the Charlotte Hornets a lot of shit for taking Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson in the draft because everybody pretty much knew ahead of the draft that Scoot Henderson was a better player. But my pushback was like, why would the Hornets want Scoot Henderson if at that point in time they have LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier already?
Yeah.
So I'm really glad they took Brandon Miller. He's really recently come into his own, and that's the thing about with the trade is that like you're banking on this young guy to come in, and you hope you draft well. And they've drafted pretty decently, right? Between LaMelo, Brandon Miller, now Mark Williams, stuff like that. And they've drafted some pretty decent people as of recently. But at that point in time, LaMelo's going to be in his mid to late 20s. Is he going to want to put up with this anymore in Charlotte if he can go to a big market team? Because you know how them Ball brothers are. They're stars outside of basketball too, or especially LaMelo. So he might not even want to be there anymore and wait for that. Brandon Miller's going to have a bag by then. It's like that's why I'm kind of worried about banking on picks such down the line.
Yeah, that is true. That is very, very true. I don't know. It's just gonna be just a wait and see because they're gonna have a top pick again coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and this is gonna be who they draft and how their draft pieces develop. That's gonna be the big thing because if Brandon Miller doesn't get better, if Mark Williams doesn't get better, then you're in this hole again. There's not much that you can do. You're gonna have to try and claw your way out of. But if they do develop, and LaMelo gets even better, now you might be looking at a play-in team. It just all depends on what goes on, and who knows? Maybe they can get us a good bench player, or they can get something out of free agency that brings them something to the team. And next thing you know, we're looking at them as maybe an 8-7 seed.
That's possible.
Touching the playoffs. Hey, we're here. Don't forget about us, type thing.
Okay, I can see that.
And now if you're ready for the next thing.
Yep, go ahead.
We're gonna talk about teams right now, midway through the season, that in the tail end of the season, we think could make a playoff push. Not a play-in push, but actually get into that, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, get into the top 6.
Yeah.
You want to start with one conference over the other?
Yeah, we're going to start with the West, and then we're going to go to the East.
Okay. So what is the criteria? Is it like a team that's not in the top 6 that you think is going to get pushed into the top 6?
A team that's not in the top 6, but not a team like so far down. I doubt Memphis is going to go on a run in the second half of the season and make it into the playoffs.
I got you.
So if they're not in like the 7, 8, if they're not 7 through 10 and they're right outside, you know what I mean? It'd be like
I got you. I think I have a team that's gonna around that area. So I'll let you go ahead.
All right, my team, they're the 7th seed in the East right now, but I feel like since they made a trade.
You said Western Conference first. Hold on.
That's right. Western. I scrolled up and seen Eastern, and I was going with in the Western Conference for me. I think it's the Mavericks. Right now, they're the 8th seed. They're 24-19. They're right outside of that 6th seed. And I feel like if they can get – Luka's already playing amazing, but if they can get Kyrie playing really, really good, if they can get Lively, a couple more lobs, a couple more points, I feel like this team could touch that 6-5 seed, and we already seen what Luka can do in the playoffs.
Right.
In, 2 years ago? When he came in, they beat the Suns.
Oh, yes. Yep.
You just got to give Luka the chance. If you're the Mavs, you got to get him a team that can just get you there, and then Luka is just going to go playoff Luka. That's what it's going to be. And he's going to go on a tear in the playoffs, and it's going to be about making everyone else around him lose the game. You know what I mean?
That's fair. So I kind of got two things here. One's kind of cheap. The Kings are the 7th seed. I could definitely see them taking over the Sun spot or even the Pelican spot at the 5 and 6 seed. I think you're going to get De'Aaron Fox getting back up to his like superstar. No, I don't want to call him a superstar, but like his star level playing. I know they've had some injuries, stuff like that. And they could be buyers at this deadline. You never know who they get. They might ship out Harrison Barnes. I've been hearing some rumors about Kevin Huerter as well. So that's kind of a lazy one, but I think the Kings could just end up being a solidified playoff team. But I have a team here that's outside the play-in that I think could maybe make a play-in push as well. And that's going to be the Golden State Warriors. So they're 18-22. There's 3-7 in the last 10, and you're like, holy shit, why they're so dysfunctional, right? Because at the end of the day, Steph Curry is still one of the best players in the league, right? He might be kind of droughting a little. I don't call it droughting because he's still been great, but maybe not like the Steph Curry we're accustomed to seeing. But I truly think this team is still like probably pulled by their bootstraps by Steph Curry, could make a run and knock off probably the Jazz, because I don't know if the Jazz are going to hold on to that 10 seed very long. And I know you have the Rockets in between the Warriors and the Jazz at the 11 seed. But that Rockets team, I think, is just too young at this point in time, where you have somebody like the Warriors who are such an experienced team that I think it only takes a 2-3 week stretch of Klay Thompson getting back to himself and Andrew Wiggins playing at least decent basketball from where you go to the 12 seed to the 9-10 seed.
Oh yeah, I can very well see that, especially if especially like you said, if Klay and Wiggins start playing like they know how, and they can, it's gonna be an interesting it's gonna be an interesting back half of the season in my opinion, to see the seeding and everything go out, because you never know who could go in, you never know who could be in, who's gonna get kicked out. It's gonna be interesting.
Plus, I have a hard time writing off the Warriors until they prove that they're not. Like, obviously, we can tell they're not the same dynasty anymore, right? But they took out the Kings last season in the first round, got to the second round, lost to the Lakers. Like, I think I have a hard time writing them off until they show, yeah, we're just not in it anymore.
Oh yeah, that is very, very justifiable, especially when you still have Curry. Let's be honest. Curry is still one of the better point guards in the league. You could go and say he's probably top 5, top 3 point guards in the league still.
Yep.
It's hard, like you said, it's hard to write him off until they've proven to where they just can't do it anymore.
All right, let's jump over to the East there.
Eastern Conference, my pick is on the border. I feel like with the trade that they made to get Spicy P in,
I feel like we have the same one.
Indiana, I feel like could easily jump to the 4. Let's be honest, and maybe even take over Philly for the 3. Especially,
okay.
Especially once you get Halliburton back to full strength, you bring in Spicy P. I feel like this team could make
I don't know,
a
man.
run.
They've been 0-3 since Spicy P's been there.
All like you said, all it takes is a 2-week stretch.
You're right.
And next thing you know,
Halliburton's missed 2 of those 3 games.
Yeah, all it takes is that 2-week stretch, and we're looking, and we're like, damn, Indiana's the 5 seed, 4 seed. Doesn't take long for spots to flip, teams to get hot. You just got to get hot at the right time.
Just for podcast purposes, I'm going to say you're stupid and you're wrong. Haha. Argue. No. I genuinely, the Pacers are my pick too. Like I said, they're 0-3, right, since the Pascal Siakam trade. But you're bringing in a borderline star player, and your current star player, Tyrese Halliburton, hasn't played 2 of the 3 games. They're going to be fine. Obviously, with the standings so close, this little stretch has made them not look good, right? It's hurt them in the standings. But like you're talking about, like, they could be up there, the 4, the 5, the 6. They're at that level of teams, I think. I think the East is split into 2 tiers, right? Well, okay. So I'll look at I'll put it this way. I think you have tier 1 of the East. It's the Celtics, the Bucks, and the 76ers. And then you have tier 2, which is the Cavs, the Knicks, the Heat, the Pacers, and even the Magic I'd kind of put in there. And then you have the Bulls and the Hawks, and just kind of down the line there. I don't know. I don't think they'll take over any of the Celtics, Bucks, and 76ers. I think the highest they'll get is 4. And even then, the Cavs and the Knicks, I don't know. I think they might stick at the 6 spot, 7 spot. But yeah, I mean, we'll never know. We don't know what the Heat look like yet with Terry Rozier. I think he's making his debut tomorrow night, if I read that correctly. So we'll see the Heat, the 6 Heat. We'll see how they play. But yeah, no, the Pacers are my team too.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, in this scenario, there's only really 2 teams that we could go with in the East, in my opinion, and that's either going with the Pacers or the Magic. The Bulls, they might make the play-in, but I doubt they're going to make the playoffs. Same thing with the Hawks.
Hell, the Hawks might fall out because they're talking potential about a fire sale in Atlanta. So the Hawks might just ship out and just tank this year. It's going to be kind of hard to tank when you have teams like the Hornets, Wizards, and Raptors, or I'm sorry, the Hornets, Wizards, and Pistons just not winning games at all. But the Hawks might just fall out completely, which might. Who takes that 10 seed then? Because you have the Hawks, right? A 10. And then a game behind that, you have the Nets, who are reported to be buyers, but like, I guess they maybe could take the 10 seed, but they're not going to be very good. So I don't know. And then you have the Raptors after that, and they're pretty much committed to selling the team off with the Siakam trade, the OG trade. So I think maybe by default the Hawks keep it in, but it's rough.
Yeah, once you get past the 8 seed, I'd even include the Bulls in that because the Bulls aren't they actively looking to ship most of their players or most of their top players?
Yeah, between Vucevic, DeRozan, and Levine. So it's like that, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I think there's that 2 levels of the playoff teams, and the Bulls and the Hawks are not in that level.
Yeah, no, I feel like just looking at this, unless something strange happens, we're probably going to be looking at Magic, Pacers, Heat, Knicks, Cavs, 76ers, Bucks, and Celtics. Pretty much the top 8 like it would be before the play-in started. I don't really see the Bulls or the Hawks winning 2 playing games. I just don't see it.
No, it would have to be like barring injury.
Yeah. And also, Wembanyama. He's been on a tear recently. Let's be honest.
Yes, he has. Thank you for pointing that out because I have been seeing some ridiculous takes on Twitter, which is Twitter, right? I'm fully convinced that people on Twitter, the people on basketball Twitter, NBA Twitter, don't even like basketball because the way they be talking about people is insane. Like, Wembanyama he's on playing averaging 28 minutes a game. He is on a minute restriction because they're bad and they don't want him to get hurt. They don't want him to tire himself out. So he's on a minute restriction. He's averaging 20 points, 10 rebounds, about 3 assists. Now, his shooting has been kind of especially outside the paint, right? But again, he's a rookie, right? He just turned 20. I don't think there's any world. I think he's up there leading the league in blocks. If not, he's up there. Like, I think we are so spoiled with people coming in and immediately being top players, kind of like Luka. You know what I mean? You get people like that are just coming in that are just like setting the world on fire, where you have somebody who's coming in and he's playing great, but because of the pre-draft hype, he's being called a bust, which is I just don't get it.
Yeah, and even then, with Embiid's 70-point game against Spurs, Wemby still had 33 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks, on 10 for 19 from the field, and 2 for 5 from 3.
He needs the respect. Obviously, I think the Rookie of the Year race is between him and Chet Holmgren. But I don't know. I think, again, like I said, it's NBA Twitter, and I don't think they really be watching basketball games that much. And that's the problem with like box score watching is because you can look at a game and be like, oh, he kind of sucked. But then you watch the game, it's like, oh, it's kind of like the Draymond Green effect, where you look at his box score, you're like, damn, is that all he's doing? And then you watch the game and you see the dribble handoffs, you see the screens, you see the defense. You're like, oh, okay, he does more than what you're seeing in the box score. And even that, the box score looks good too, outside of the shooting percentage.
Yeah. I mean, Wembanyama, he's Wemby. He's in my opinion, watching him now, once you get him a true point guard, now obviously I think it's Trey Jones is his point guard right now. I feel like if they can somehow swindle DeJounte Murray back from the Hawks, that'll help him immensely. It will. That'll just help him a whole lot. But also, I seen a video, and you probably seen it too, before the game, Embiid walked behind Wembanyama and just kind of looked at him and went, damn.
Yeah, I did see that.
Past.
That.
I thought that was pretty funny. I mean, and also, the Spurs team, they got some dogs on that team. Let's be honest here. Devin Vassell. Is it Devin Vassell?
Yeah.
22 points in that game. He has been playing very well this season. It's just, I don't know. It's just Wemby being on the minutes restriction, which I think they did with Tim Duncan his first year.
Probably. I didn't know that, but they might have.
There was a meme going around about Wemby got up and tried to get in the game, and Popovich was kind of pointing out like, no, you sit. And they did a flashback to Duncan's first year, and Duncan tried to get in the game, and Pop was pretty much just pushing him down like, no, you're not playing right now. You're sitting.
Right.
Thought that was kind of interesting, but getting Wemby a true point guard. Now, obviously, Trey Jones off the bench wouldn't be bad at all. But I would rather see DeJounte Murray out there with Wemby than Trey Jones and Wemby.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just kind of the point guard. They need a point guard. And like I said, all of a sudden, I made a video a while ago where I did a Spurs rebuild, and I traded for Trae Young in it, right? Just because, the Hawks are a team that's been rumored to sell. Apparently now, Trae Young getting moved is gaining traction, and some people are saying to the Spurs, so your boy might have called it a month or two early. I don't know, but I think Trae Young would be a crazy point guard for Victor Wembanyama because he's one of the best passers in the league. I don't think there's any doubt about that, and he's not gonna miss Wemby. We were seeing so many clips this year of they're trying to run Jeremy Sohan at point guard. I don't know. But he has no eyes. It's either two things, right? He either has no passing vision at all, which is what it probably is, or two, he just doesn't like Wemby because this man will not pass to Wemby at all. It's kind of funny to watch.
Yeah, there was a video going on. You probably already seen it, and he dribbles down, it's a 2v1. All he's got to do is just throw the lob to Wemby, flush it down, go back on defense. He then basically does a handoff to, I believe it was Trey Jones. Trey Jones then takes two dribbles and then lobs it to Wemby.
Yep.
That lob's got to go off. Once you get that matchup and once you get into the paint, just lob it up for Wemby. You could put that at the top of the backboard. He's still going to go up and get it.
No, I agree. I think, yeah, I'm excited to see if they get him a real point guard. Then again, they might just call the season what it is and just tank for, try to get the draft pick and not even worry about bringing anybody, which wouldn't be the worst idea either.
Yeah, it wouldn't at all. It's just, I don't know. It just sucks seeing the Wemby hate when he's not playing bad at all, especially, like we've said, on the minutes restriction. Like, he only played 28 minutes against the 76ers and still got 33.
Again, like I said, people, they just don't be watching ball. It is what it is.
Or they just have premeditated hate.
Honestly, I think a lot of it is, I don't think there's too many, I don't want to words. There's not too many NBA fans nowadays. It's like, I'm either a fan of, I'm like, everybody has their favorite team, right? We all have our favorite teams, and there's no problem with that. But I think you have to be able to appreciate everybody for who they are. And that's something I've took major strides in recently in all sports I watch, right? Like, I'm a Lakers fan, right? So in history, it's like, oh, hate the Celtics, blah, blah, blah. It's a rivalry, right? At the end of the day, man, I'm not going to throw any shade on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown because they're Celtics, right? I'm not going to throw any shade on the Miami Heat, Jimmy Butler, because I'm fully able to be like, you know what? Even somebody like Embiid, who I haven't been the biggest fan of, right? I can look at Embiid, and like I said earlier in the podcast, I think he's one of the best scorers I've ever seen in my life with my eyes. Like, you might not like somebody, you might not be the biggest fan of somebody, but if you're able to put that aside to just put out the facts of, you know what? This is what this guy is, right? I think it's what the NBA needs, or I think it's what the fan needs. But it comes down to, I'm going to make and I don't mean any disrespect here, but like, I'm going to make a Shea fan account on Twitter. So anybody that goes against Shea, I'm going to attack. Or same thing with like Ant, or same thing with LeBron. Like, people make these fan accounts of certain players. So it's like, if your agenda isn't for that player, they hate on it. And I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. It's just, in my opinion, it gives basketball a bad rap because of the fans doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying earlier, I don't like LeBron, but I respect him for what he's done. You know what I mean?
One of the best of all time.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time that we've ever seen. Do I like him? No, because of the stuff that has happened. The Miami Heat, the Cavs.
It's on
Beating
court,
the
right?
Celtics.
It's all on court, which is I think the difference.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't like that he went to the Heat, right? Or I don't like Kevin Durant he went to the Golden State Warriors, which is like I think it's okay, but it's when people get weird about off the court stuff or off the field stuff of these players, where it gets majorly weird.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, no. So go ahead with your next one.
Okay, it's just like as a Celtics fan, LeBron beating the Celtics on the Heat, LeBron beating the Celtics when he was on his second stint with the Cavs. I don't like LeBron. I'm gonna be honest, I don't. But I have enough respect for basketball and respect for him to know that he's one of the greatest. It's gonna be hard to find someone like him to do it from what when 18 when he came in the league?
Yeah, I think so.
18 to what is he now? 38?
I think he just turned 39.
39. So you got to figure for 20 years, he's been playing at the top level.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think he made an All-Star team his second year. Like he's pretty much just been that from the moment he stepped on the court.
Yeah, which is insane to think about. Like we've seen people with long careers before, but we've never seen somebody with this long of a career, 20 years, and you could pretty much say he hasn't gone back a step. He stayed at the upper echelon for his entire career.
Yeah, and I think in the past couple of years, you're seeing Father Time a little bit. Like he might have lost a step here, and I don't think he's unanimously the number one player in the league anymore, like he was for such a long time. But I don't think he's anywhere outside the top 10. I don't think you can put him outside the top 10. And again, people are going to be like, oh, people are just haters on the internet. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, he's not better than blah, 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 blah. Whatever, man. I still think at worst he's still a top 10 player in the league.
Oh, yeah. And it's more helping him now than ever. He's still playing at that upper echelon, and he's got arguably one of the best big men in the league right now. And he doesn't have to do what he's done in past years, but he's still doing it even with this help.
Exactly.
Because you could argue, oh, well, he had Kyrie, he had Wade and Bosh. Let's be honest here. Anthony Davis, with the way he's playing right now, you could argue is the best player LeBron has played with.
I don't think that's crazy at all. His entire career, no matter who's been his teammate, you've always known it's LeBron's team. Whoever he was with, that was number 2, or number 3 with Chris Bosh. I mean, at this point, I like I said, I think Anthony Davis is close to and might have taken the reins as the Lakers' best player, which is what they've wanted from the beginning. And I think this version of Anthony Davis we're getting is the best teammate he's had.
And it's just crazy to even think about it or say that. You know what I mean? Because of how good he is, that he couldn't. How do I want to word this? It's crazy that this is the first time we're talking about it.
And he's 39.
Yeah. And the fact that in his first stint with the Cavs, you could argue that it's not even arguable. The second best player was Big Z.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on no disrespect to Big Z, but that's saying something.
Yes, it is.
That's saying a lot about that Cavs team.
Especially a team that was in the finals.
Yes. Especially a team that was in the finals. And then you go to the Miami, he's got Wade and he's got Bosh. And then the second stint with the Cavs, he did have Kyrie and he did have Kevin Love. But towards the end there...
Andrew Thompson, who just got suspended, by the way. Did you know that?
Yeah, for the drug policy, 25 games, I believe.
That's ridiculous. Dude, he was only sitting courtside anyway, so whatever. Nothing's going to change for him.
Yeah, I mean, fair. But it was just crazy to see towards the end. Now, obviously, everyone makes jokes about it. You're going to have the Warriors versus LeBron. But it was still crazy to see LeBron pull that Cavs team with their starting point guard as Dellavedova.
Yeah.
You pull them to the NBA Finals. Now, obviously, they beat the Warriors once. But then once KD rolled into town, it was like no one's realistically stopping that team.
Yeah. Which I don't want to cut you off there, but it kind of brings up another question, right, that I've been seeing. After the game the other night, a reporter asked Kevin Durant, why don't you think you're in the GOAT conversations? And he said that I'll find the exact quote, but along the lines of let me find the exact quote before I tell you, because I don't want to mistake what he said here. I don't know why I'm having a hard time finding it. Okay, yeah. Basically, he said because he went to the Warriors, right? And people hate on him because he went to the Warriors. It's nothing he like as a player. He thinks he should be up there, but people have the negative perception because he went to the Warriors. What do you think there?
I'm just gonna put this very simply. I don't think you can be the best player of all time if you're not even the best player at your position.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. Yeah.
Let's be honest. Kevin Durant, one of the best scorers that I have personally ever watched. One of the best.
Yeah. Yep.
But I'm not going to sit here and say that he's better than LeBron.
No.
And even then, I never watched him play. I will admit to that. I never watched him play, only seen highlights. But is he better than Bird?
I don't know. I have a hard time because that was so long ago.
Yeah, that's my question. Because obviously, at this point, LeBron's arguably, no doubt about it, number one small forward in NBA history.
Yeah,
but that 2-3 spot, the 2-3-4 spot, where do you put Bird, Durant, and Dr. J? That's all. That's all I'm saying. It's hard.
Yeah, I think it kind of Draymond Green kind of said something because Draymond Green answered it on his podcast, basically saying that like for him to be in that GOAT conversation, he needs to win a ring as the man, like that guy, because which is weird because like he has the Finals MVP, two Finals MVPs, right, with the Warriors, but it was still looked at as Steph Curry's team, and I think a lot of people are like, well, if he would have won a ring with Brooklyn, I think that would have counted as winning a ring as the man.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just that if he would have went to any other team other than the Warriors, we would have a lot of people would have a different perception or a different 100%. Look at Durant. It's just the fact that he went to the Warriors
after he just blew a 3-1 lead to them in the previous playoffs.
Yes, that was the big factor because we all knew there was rumors. Oh, he's gonna go here, and then he winds up saying, "I'm going to the Warriors." That was for him personally. It probably would have been it probably was he thought was the best move for his career and for him personally.
He got 2 rings out of it, so
he got 2 rings. But from a fan perspective, from a media perspective, you could argue that was quote unquote career suicide because he just went to a team that was just in the finals, that just beat him the year before, after Durant and OKC was up 3-1. Mm-hmm. You literally go to the team that just beat you and are already starting their dynasty with Clay, Draymond, and Steph.
Yeah, and again, we're doing a lot of just like hypotheticals here, but like if Kevin Durant re-signs in OKC and wins a title with Russ, dude, that if he won 1 ring in OKC with Russ, it would hold 10 times more weight than his 2 rings with Golden State do now.
100%. I even said, you've heard me say this before. This is going back a little bit, but Dirk Nowitzki's ring for that finals run he had, mm-hmm. in my opinion, holds more value than Durant's 2 rings.
I would agree. Like value to the city and value to like the player profile, I would agree.
Yes.
So, anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here?
No, that's about it. I don't really think we have anything else to talk about for this episode.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much. We covered a lot today. Got some good combos in here. It's always a good time recording with you. And so like I said at the beginning of the podcast, check out Timeout with J&G. It's our name on Twitter. Like I said, just reposting sports stuff. Maybe some ideas from things to talk about, or just updates about the podcast. Is there anything you want to add or say to the people before we leave?
No, that's about it. Just be ready for Saturday for the next episode to come out.
That's right. It'll be out sometime Saturday. Depends. We'll probably record in a morning, afternoon. So look for it Saturday evening, probably. Like I said, we're trying to do every Wednesday, every Saturday. And I think even if one of us is busy, we're going to try to at least put out like a solo one. Maybe it won't be as long, but just kind of going over some things so we can get you guys some consistent content. And I'm trying to get back into recording some 2K content, putting out there. It's kind of hard when 2K is kind of some buns. But I'm kind of, the video's been doing pretty well for my standards recently. So I'd like to see, try putting them out there. So check out Cloud2K on YouTube. Did you want to plug anything there?
No, not really. There's only one thing I do got to say is I'm ready for this college football game. And I'm pretty sure both of us are going to be putting out rebuilds and stuff like that. So be ready for that.
I'm excited. We are going to cover some football. We might do that Saturday. We might do our predictions for the conference championship as well. Like, it'll probably still be a lot of basketball, but we are going to sprinkle some football here because we are big. I'd say I'm at this point in my life, I really love the NBA, but NFL is still going to be king. I think it just always will be. Unfortunately, neither one of our teams are still in the playoffs, but
yeah.
So definitely expect some football content to be sprinkled in there too if you guys like that.
And also, as we get towards March, at some point when the brackets do come out, we will be doing a kind of our picks for March Madness.
Oh man, I guess I don't watch college basketball. I guess I'm gonna have to lock in on that one.
Yeah, well, as long as you're cool with it, I want to try and at least get our picks. Our top four or like our final four, Elite Eight.
I'll do it. It might not be good, but I'll do a bracket.
Alrighty, then
Penn State's going to the championship, right?
What?
Penn State's running the table, right? Yeah, they're good, right? I have no idea. I don't. I follow college football, but I don't know. College basketball is such a weird thing. Like, I don't know. I feel like until you get to March, and maybe it's just me not knowing because I don't tune in enough. But it doesn't really get interesting until March, honestly. So maybe I do need to tune in a bit more this year.
Hey, it's also hard for college basketball because you have a lot of kids that are one and done. I shouldn't say a lot, but you got the one and dones, and then you got the people graduating. And sometimes it's just hard to keep up with the names of other teams. Like I'm a Tennessee Vols fan. I couldn't tell you who's starting for Duke. I couldn't tell you who's starting for Arizona.
Yeah, no, I get it. When it comes to college, I'm definitely like I'm a Penn State fan because we are here in Pennsylvania. That's about the only sport that I'm local in, honestly, outside the Orioles. I guess down in Baltimore. But I just in college football you have some of that too. But it's like in basketball, man, I feel like there's some people out there in that court. I'm just like, who? Like I don't know who you are. But maybe that would help with our draft stuff too if we were to lock in some more. So, yeah, no, we look in March. We will definitely put out some brackets.
Most definitely. All right, I think that about wraps everything up for this episode.
All right, so thank you guys for tuning in again to Time Out with J and G. I'm Jay. That's G over there, and we'll see you guys later. Peace.